Good morning viewers, it's Angie from UK Money Wisdom. Most people think retirement is a destination. It's a finish line for us, isn't it? A place where the worrying should stop, where life finally becomes simpler. But in 2026, retirement has become something else. For many, it has become a trap. For 40 years, the deal was simple. You worked, you saved, you paid in, you built up your national insurance, and in return, the state covered the baseline. Not luxury, not cruises, not indulgence, just food, heating, security, and dignity. Now, that deal is ending. Not with speeches, not with votes, not with headlines, but with mathematics, with frozen numbers, silent calculations, margins so thin you don't feel them, until one day you realise you've fallen through. We are entering the era of zero margin retirement. There's no buffer, no slack, and no safety margin. And one small mistake, one wrong assumption, one missed allowance, and you are paying tax for life. But I'm going to show you how this happens to us and how to avoid it and how to fix it. Take the triple lock pincer, for example, when a pay rise becomes a tax trap. The triple lock, it sounds protective, doesn't it? Sounds reassuring. Sounds like security. It isn't. It is one half of a pincer movement. On one side, your state pension rises. On the other side, your tax-free allowance is frozen, and you are trapped in the middle. Under current projections, the state pension is expected to rise again in April 2026. Ministers will call this support. Headlines will call it good news. But here is the catch. Your personal allowance is £12,570. It has been frozen. It is staying frozen. It is not adjusting. It is standing still while everything else moves. Now here is the technical detail HMRC does not explain clearly. They do not simply multiply your new weekly pension by 52. They blend the year. The tax year starts on the 6th of April. So, in a year when the pension rises, you get 1 week at the old rate and 51 weeks at the new rate. And let me tell you why that matters. Let me show you with this worked example of the so-called blended pension. You have the old weekly pension of £230 and the new weekly pension of £241 that you can see in this example. That gives you obviously a total of £12,521. Your allowance, as we know, is £12,570. We know that's not rising. You have a remaining space of only £49. That is your entire safety margin. £49 for 12 months. And if you add just a small private pension, have a look at this, you pay tax at £70 every year forever. Or add savings interest instead, and your tax goes up to £150, again forever. That is zero margin retirement. That is not protection, that's a tightrope. You see, we have the stealth tax reveal, which we know as fiscal drag. These are tax rises that are never mentioned. And fiscal drag means your income rises, but your allowance does not. So more of you become taxable. And this is automatic. No vote, no debate, no letter. Look at what is happening. Personal allowance frozen, dividend allowance cut, savings allowance squeezed, thresholds are static. Life is just more expensive. That is how governments raise tax quietly behind the back door, and it is devastating in retirement because pensioners rely on small pensions, savings interest, small investments. They shouldn't be caught out, but all of these are now exposed. Let's look at this worked example, savings outside ISA. We have savings here of £45,000, interest 4%, which is £1,800, the allowance of £1,000, taxable £800, and tax paid £160, 10 years £1,600, after 20 years £3,200 gone from careful saving. Now, let's look at the emergency tax ambush, shall we? How one withdrawal can wreck your plans. That's the ambush I call that ruins holidays. It ruins kitchens. It ruins home repairs. It ruins carefully planned spending. It's emergency tax. I've spoken about it many times recently. This happens when you take a one-off withdrawal from your pension. You think, I'll just take £3,000. I'll just clear a bill. I'll just top up my savings. HMRC's computer does not see just once, it sees a pattern. And if you take £3,000 this month, the system assumes £3,000 times 12, that's £36,000 per year, and it will tax you as if that is your income immediately. An emergency code is applied, month 1, week 1, OT, and suddenly your money disappears. I have seen 30%, 35%, 40% gone in a flash. Let's look at this worked emergency tax example. We have a withdrawal of £3,000, emergency taxed, received £1,900, over £1,000 gone, not owed, just guessed by HMRC. Then, when you ask, and not until you ask, or a long wait follows, you are told, apply for a refund. Here's form P55 and form P53 and form P50Z, and you wait 8 weeks, you wait 12 weeks, you wait 16 weeks. You have given HMRC an interest-free loan with your retirement money. Now here's the fix. Never withdraw casually. Before withdrawing, check your tax code, check your income, confirm treatment. If possible, drip feed. Small amounts, not big hits. Do not let the system guess, because when it guesses, you lose. Moving on, did you realise our very own ISA firewall is also under threat? Now, for years, ISAs were our firewall, weren't they? Our protection. £20,000 per year, no tax, No forms, no stress. They were our protection. Now cash ISAs are under review. Consultations exist. Policy papers exist. Nothing is law yet, but direction matters. When governments review shelters, they are looking for revenue, and complexity will always hit ordinary people first. Here's a worked example of ISAs versus non-ISAs. You have savings of £50,000, interest 4%, which is £2,000, outside ISA, tax £200, inside ISA, tax nothing. Over 15 years, that's a £3,000 difference. That's what I call security. Here's another one. We have the ghost year rug pull. Now, if you were born after age 60, your pension age is rising to 67. This is law. 1 extra year without pension. That's 1 more year you must fund yourself. Look at this worked example of the lost year. £230 per week is £11,960. 1 year lost? Yes, that's the £11,960 plus inflation, plus lost certainty. Without a bridge fund, you just drift. You have to work longer. You drain your savings. Enough of this. Here are 3 ways to take back control. This is how you stop being managed by the system. Let's talk about how you take control back, because once you understand how the system works, you are not powerless. There are 3 moves that matter more than anything else in 2026. Not dozens, not gimmicks, not get rich quick. 3 solid structural decisions. And if you get these right, you stabilise your retirement. If you ignore them, the system will quietly drain you. Let's start with number 1, the 25% uplift. How pension top-ups really work. So with pension top-ups, we call these relief at source. And it sounds technical, doesn't it? But it isn't. It works like this. For every £80 you put into a pension, HMRC will add £20. So £80 becomes £100. That is a 25% uplift. Instantly. Not next year, not maybe, immediately. That is refunded tax. It is money that was yours anyway. Now, and this is important, you only get this if you qualify. You must have relevant earnings, be within the annual allowance, not be caught by tapering, not have exceeded past limits. If any of those fail, HMRC will claw it back later, quietly and with interest. So this must be used properly. Let me show you with this example of a pension top-up. You pay in £8,000, HMRC adds £2,000, total invested £10,000, instant gain £2,000. That is not growth, that is not performance, that is free capital. But if your earnings are only £6,000, you cannot claim relief on £8,000. And if you exceed the allowance, you get a tax bill. So this is powerful, but only if you check first. Never assume. Moving on to number 2, you can do the NI, the National Insurance audit, which is buying extra pension for life. This is the most underused tool in the entire system. How many full NI years you have. Normally, you need 35 full years for the full pension, but many people have gaps because of childcare, caring, illness, low pay, career breaks. Those gaps permanently reduce your pension unless you fix them. How to check and fix this? You go to gov.uk. You log into your personal tax account. I've shown you this in many videos recently. You open National Insurance Record. Do look in the description below if you would like a recap of all the full links that you need to use. And you look at each year. It will say full, partial, missing. Those partial and missing years are money left on the table. And what you can do is you can often buy missing years. These are called voluntary class 3 contributions. You pay once, you get extra pension for life, no investment risk, no market exposure, guaranteed income. Look at this worked example of buying a year. You have a typical cost upfront of £824. Extra pension about £302 per year. And after 3 years, you have your money back. And after that, pure profit. If you live 20 years in retirement, that's £6,040 from that initial cost of £824. No savings account does that. No ISA will do that. No fund does that. This is the best guaranteed return available in the UK, and most people never check it. But do it properly and make sure that you're not buying extra years needlessly. Here's the third move. This is the flex then fix. In other words, how to avoid destroying your pot. It's all about timing. Timing, you see, is everything in retirement. This is called sequence risk. Let me explain it simply. What drawdown means? Now, drawdown means your pension stays invested. It rises and falls with markets. You take money out regularly. Good in good years, dangerous in bad years. What do annuities mean? An annuity means you swap savings for income. You get guaranteed pay, no market risk, no flexibility, lower upside, higher security. We need to consider the hidden danger with sequence risk, because sequence risk means if markets fall early in retirement, your pot may never recover because you are withdrawing while values are falling, you see. That locks in losses permanently. Let me show you an example of sequence risk. We have a starting pot of £200,000, an annual withdrawal of £10,000. Year one, there's a crash of 20%. That's £40,000 lost. Then withdrawal of £150,000. You have lost £50,000 in 1 year. All future growth works on £150,000, not £200,000, and that gap never closes, ever. So why does timing matter? If the crash happens year 1 to 5, that spells disaster. If it's year 15 to 20, that's more manageable. Same markets, different outcome, all about timing. It's the flex, then fix strategy. So the solution is not all drawdown and not all annuity. It is flex first, fix later. Early retirement, those active years, is drawdown, flexibility, growth. Later retirement, your security years, annuity, certainty and stability. You do not gamble your final years, you manage them. So here's a section summary. I have just explained your three power sources, your control trinity. Pension top-ups, use the 25% uplift properly. NI audit, buy cheap pension for life. Flex, then fix. Protect your pot from early damage. Do these three things and you stop being a passive target. You become an active manager. Now let's look at the inheritance shift. You see, as I said, we need to have in mind that pensions are under review for IHT, that's inheritance tax. There's no law yet, but strong signals, think tanks, consultations, policy pressure, we know what that means. And direction matters. Review beneficiaries, update your wishes. Do not assume yesterday's rules protect tomorrow's estate. We all know full well that the UK pension system is automated. Automation defaults at worst case for you and best case for the Treasury. Unless you intervene, retirement is no longer passive, it is management and governance. So every year, do check allowance, check tax code, check savings, check NI, check pensions, check ISAs. Forget the fear, it's time for control. Not panic, but planning. Do not be a passenger, be the board of directors of your own finances. I've given you the data, now you take the control. Knowledge is our power, isn't it? And as I said, all links and lots of helpful information are below in the description. I'm Angie, and this is UK Money Wisdom. Have a good week and enjoy your day. Bye for now.